Okay, Dan Bell, BellCertified. We're looking at example 7 now. In this case, we have a international application that was filed in the U.S. and it'll let me draw a circle around here. Oh, I have the pen upside down. International application was filed in the U.S. U.S. was designated, I should say, and then you have an international publication, WIPO in English. Of course, this publication is a 102A event, right? And a 102B event, which we'll learn more about B later. Let's see here. We have an application claiming the benefit of the 35 USC is filed. So notice in this fax we don't have the C124 date. The C124 date is the date of a national stage completion. In this case, there's no mention of the national phase, but that's okay. In the U.S., a 111 application can claim priority to a international application. Let's see, so that's what that is. Then we have publication, 102A, 1B, and patent. Okay, now what published? Okay, the 10211A published. I'm sorry, the 111A published, and we have a granted 111A. Okay, so now since we have an international application filed after the critical date, and it was U.S. designated, published in English by WIPO, the application which relies upon it can get back to this 102E date, assuming there's support, right? We always need the 112 support, and then we're good there. And then when this 102 E1 event happens, and this 102E2 event happens, they're fine. So long as there's support, they can get all the way back to this date. And then we also have a pub here, which is a 102E1 date. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So all of our dates, see, the 102E date for the international publication is March 1st, 2001. That's what we would expect. The 102E1 date for the pub in the U.S., this pub here, is the same date. We'd expect that, and the same with the patent. They can all get back to this date since these again, you know, 102E applies to U.S. filing dates, right? And to PCT if the requirements, and here the requirements are satisfied. So we can treat this as a 10 as a U.S. filing date. Pretty straightforward stuff. Let's look at the additional benefit claims. If the international application claimed the benefit of an early filed U.S. application on the benefit of an early filed U.S. non-provisional, the 35 U.S. 102E date for all the references would be the filing date of the earlier filed U.S. application, assuming it had support. We'd expect that, right? If we have a U.S. filing date back here somewhere, then this is claiming priority to this earlier date. So long as we have support at this earlier date, we can, all of these dates would be able to get back to it. Why? It's a U.S. filing date. Again, the idea is if you meet the requirements of PCT, then you can get back through a PCT application to a earlier U.S. filing date, whether it be another PCT. That's supposed to be a P. So you can get through a string, right? You can get back, if this has those requirements, you can get back to this one. If it has those requirements, boom, all the way back to an earlier U.S. filing date. That's all the first thing's saying. Let's look at the second sentence. If a second later filed U.S. non-provisional application claimed the benefit of the 111 application in the above example, the 102E date of the patent or publication of the second later filed U.S. application would be the international filing date, assuming the earlier application had support. That makes sense. That's saying, look, you know, if there was another filing here that depended on this filing, that depended on this filing date, then you could, which depended on that filing date, then this one could get the earlier date so long as you had support. That makes sense. And again, if there were one before that even, right? You can these links work so long as they're either a US filing date with support or a PCT application with support. You can reach back through these links. And the last one, if a second later filed US non-provisional, well, I guess we already read that. All right, let's move on to number 8 here. Okay, you have an international application, US designated. It's after this date. We need to look for a WIPO. Uh-oh, not in English. Okay, this is new 102E. We're not meeting the requirements. Therefore, this publication is not. It's not a 102E date. It is a 102A date, as we've said all along. Any publication, and it's a 102B date. Any publication or issuance. It's the accessibility that makes those valuable under 102B as prior art references. So, but it has no 102E1 date because it's not published in English. But this application claims priority to that. What we're going to find is that a U.S. filing date is a U.S. filing date, and therefore a subsequent event, a grant or a patent. This is going to be we'll find hopefully in the reading materials below that this is a 102E event, and that this is a 102E2 event. So let's see what it says. The 35 U.S.C. 102 date of an international application is none. That's for the reasons we said. It's not in English. The 35 U.S.C. date for the publication by the USPTO is May 1st, 2003. That's this date because it's a U.S. filing date, and here's the prior art event of the publication. And the same with the patent, same date. So you can always get back to the U.S. date, right? You just can't get back to this you can't get back to this date because you didn't follow the rules. Again, U.S. date is okay. U.S. filing, it works under 102, right? And PCT will work if you meet the requirements. Now let's look at the benefit claim, the additional benefit claims under here. See what they're talking about. If the international application properly claimed benefit to any earlier filed U.S. application, whether provisional or non-provisional, there still would be no 102E date for the international publication by WIPO. And the U.S. patent application and the patent would still have the same 102E date of the actual filing date of the last. So if there were, if there were another U.S. filing here, and this application now is trying to claim through the international filing date to this U.S., it can't because it's not in English. So these dates would still be the 102A dates for this application. It wouldn't go back to an earlier U.S. because it can't get through this PCT date in order to get back to this earlier U.S. date. That's what this is saying here. The next sentence: if a second later filed U.S. non-provisional application claimed the benefit of the application above example, the 102E date of the patent or publication of the second later filed application would still be the actual filing date of 111, the May 1st date. Well, that makes sense. We can't, as long as we file here, we file another continuation here, a U.S. date, we can get back to the U.S. date, but we can't get back to the PCT date. That's what that's saying. So this application here, if it claimed to this date, then and there was support, it could get back to that as a 102E date. All right, let's look at the. Well, we're out of time here. We'll come back and do 9, and then I'll talk for a few minutes about the two flowcharts at the end of this section.